Today marks a somber day of remembrance as we mark 1 year since the tragic school shooting in Parkland, Florida. 17 lives cut short on this day last year inside that Florida high school. But today, while honoring the victims, we're also looking forward.
That's exactly right. This was the scene at many schools across the state today as students came together to remember and pay tribute to the victims. That tragedy bringing together as it fueled a movement dedicated to addressing gun violence in this country and demanding change.
A garden on the school campus, not only paying tribute to the victims, but also promoting love and healing.
We do have team coverage for you tonight. Our Eric Alvarez shows us how students across the state are showing support for the students. But first, we want to begin with Heather Crawford, who spoke with the impact, talked about the impact on survivors, and she joins us live now with the details.
Well, Anthony, today all across this community, people are choosing different ways to pay tribute to those 17 lives lost at the high school 1 year ago today. You know, a lot of people choosing to come out here to this amphitheater, to this field, and spend time doing service projects, giving back to the community. In fact, in the gym right behind me right now, there's a room packed full of students and people who have gathered to pack 85,000 meals to help feed hungry children. Others coming here, taking part in the wellness stations. There's horse therapy, music therapy, dog therapy, massages, and some coming today just to reflect on those lives no longer with us and leaving flowers underneath their pictures. I was out at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School this morning, and that is where I met a junior at the school. His name is Liam Kierman, and he along with others gathered in front of this beautiful garden to mark a moment of silence at 10:17 this morning. It was an emotional moment of silence to pay tribute to the lives lost. You know, he told me he was in the band room last Valentine's Day when the fire alarm went off. He was out in the courtyard when he heard the first shot fired, and he would later learn that his dear friend Gina did not survive. Today, he went to visit her grave. He told me he was going one final time as a symbol of moving forward, but never forgetting.
When I leave, I'm gonna have my head held up high, and I'm gonna know that she's watching down from heaven on all of us and making sure that, you know, we all do our part in the community, stay strong, and stay full of love and stay full of life for them.
And he told me that today really is bringing a sense of healing to this community. He feels the love, feels the support, and it's support not just here in Parkland, but all over the area. Eric Alvarez continues our team coverage now from Fort Lauderdale.
I'm here inside Fort Lauderdale High School, one of many locations that this morning held a moment of silence in support of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, where today students took a moment to hug a friend, tell a parent they love them, maybe tease a brother or sister playfully. They're small gestures many of us take for granted until we're faced with the possibility of losing them forever. But today those students aren't the only ones making the most out of little things.
It's something as small as a rock, but still it holds like a big message.
Ryan Sills and his classmates are painting kindness rocks with messages for the students of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School.
My favorite thing about seeing our message in this way pretty much is very, imaginative and very creative.
They're wearing the school colors. The shirts say "We soar together, MSD strong." But before the smiles, there were tears as the school held a moment of silence at 10:17 a.m., marking 1 year to the minute tragedy struck a high school not much different than their own.
Aaron Fisk.
As students read the name of each person lost,
Amy Guttenberg.
The pain becomes too much for some, even if the names belong to people they never met.
We may not know them, but we still gonna have to support them.
Support comes in many ways, but here in Fort Lauderdale, from the darkness comes color and kindness.
You wouldn't want to see anyone go through that, and plus it's such a tough time for them to go through. We gotta support them.
Next on First Coast News, some of the most unique therapists you're ever gonna see. They don't talk, but they sure do listen, and they sure do help. In Fort Lauderdale, Eric Alvarez, First Coast News, on your side.
Eric, thank you. And so coming up in the next half hour, we're gonna have more on this interfaith service that is going to be taking place here tonight. It gets underway at 5:45, and we'll also be checking in with Bethany Anderson, who is here with us tonight in Parkland. That is the latest from here. We'll send it back into you in the studio.
That violence. Tonight we have live team coverage from Broward County, Florida. First Coast News' Heather Crawford and Bethany Anderson and Eric Alvarez have been gathering stories of courage and hope and love. Let's start with Heather.
Well, Jeannie, the crowd is steadily growing here at the amphitheater in Parkland, where we are now just a few minutes away from the beginning of an interfaith service tonight, a service designed to help this community heal, to give them hope. You know, today really has been a day of reflection in Parkland and all across this community. Many coming here, placing flowers next to the pictures of those 17 lives lost in a field right behind me. Others going about a 10-minute drive from Stoneman Douglas High School to this beautiful 35-foot tall ornate temple that was under construction. It was finished yesterday, officially open to the public today, and it's a place for anyone to come, to reflect, and to leave their pain. Now, people have been stopping by all day long, writing messages to their loved ones who are no longer with us, and leaving mementos. Artist David Best came here from California to build this temple. It's called the Temple of Time, and he had help from the community, and that includes first responders and students and parents who lost loved ones a year ago. And in 3 months, this beautiful temple will be set on fire, and as it disappears, his hope is that their pain will also disappear with it.
I want some of that anguish and some of that anger and some of that stuff that is tormenting them to disappear. Yep, pictures, messages, toys, records, you name it. This will take, it's designed, it's strong enough to take what this community is to get rid of.
So today, people paying tribute to the 17 lives lost in all different ways. I saw a first responder planting a flower in front of Marjory Stoneman Douglas. I saw students coming there, adding to this beautiful living garden. Eric Alvarez continues our team coverage now and has more from the garden.
I'm here at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, where today things are quiet. After an early dismissal, the students went home to spend time with their parents, brothers, and sisters. Some went over to a friend's house. Others still spent their day doing service projects or attending one of the many memorials happening all over town today. When they left campus, they passed this. There are 17 angels surrounding the garden, one for every person taken a year ago today. In the earth, rocks with messages of peace and love. This one says, "Leave room in your garden for the angels to dance." The sign in front of the school asks students to be positive, be passionate, and be proud to be an Eagle, which they try. But students say today and the days leading up to it have felt empty.
Pretty sad. Just, I don't know, not a lot of kids there. Like, a lot of people are absent.
Now, that's something I've heard a number of times here. A lot of students have been absent, a lot of families out of town as parents tried to shield their children from this somber memorial. It's understandable as different people process grief, tragedy, and loss in different ways. Next on First Coast News, the unique and inspiring ways the community is supporting them. In Parkland, Eric Alvarez, First Coast News, on your side.
Eric, thank you. Such a beautiful spot there at that garden. And coming up tonight at 6, you're going to meet a mom on a mission. She lost her son, who was a teacher at Stoneman Douglas High last Valentine's Day, and you're going to hear from her. And tonight at 5:45, as this interfaith service begins here, we're going to check in with our Bethany Anderson to show you some of the other ways people are paying tribute today. Live tonight in Parkland, Heather Crawford, First Coast News, on your side.
It was a year ago today when evil would overshadow a day meant to celebrate love. Sons, daughters, teachers, and mentors, 17 lives cut tragically short in one of the nation's deadliest mass school shootings. Good evening, I'm Anthony Austin.
And I'm Jeannie Blaylock. Thousands of people across Florida honored the victims killed in Parkland last year today. Today, a moment of silence was held at Marjory Stoneman Douglas. It was at 10:17 this morning as schools all across the state joined in today out of respect. At a middle school in Miami, students forming a human peace sign, holding a banner saying kindness and love is the answer.
And in Parkland, a memorial garden serving as a living tribute to the 17 victims. The past 365 days have been filled with hurt and pain for the families who lost their loved ones.
But some of the families and survivors are turning their pain into purpose. pushing for stricter gun laws. We have live team coverage from Parkland, Florida tonight. We begin with Heather Crawford, who joins us live from the amphitheater at Pine Trails Park. Heather?
That's right, Jeannie. I'm surrounded by thousands of people who came here tonight for an uplifting service, a service designed to help this community heal and to have hope. And we were just shown a video showing all the ways the families and friends who lost loved ones last year have been giving back to this community as they pay tribute to those 17 lives lost. You know, today some families wanted to stay away from the cameras, but others, like Linda Beagle-Schulman, wanted their stories heard as they fight for change. Her son was a 35-year-old coach and geography teacher when he was killed last Valentine's Day at Stoneman Douglas High. Today, she returned to the school.
I walked down the path today, and it was just like reliving last year when we walked down the path. This has to stop.
Linda Beagle-Schulman says no other mother should ever have to stand in her shoes. Her son's picture now hangs with 16 others in a field next to a display full of hearts with handwritten messages of love.
I cannot bring Scott back. I love my son. I haven't heard his voice for 365 days, voice to voice. I've heard recordings. I've gotten emails, I've gotten letters from his students, from students' parents, I've gotten letters from his campus, from campus parents. But I haven't gotten anything from him.
1 year after Scott Beagle's death, she's vowing to celebrate her son's life and make change happen.
I'm going to make sure that in his honor and his legacy, we save lives. We save lives and make people safe. Reasonable gun control legislation, reasonable gun control laws are for the safety of humanity.
And to her son, she says this.
I want you to understand that with every breath I have, and as much as I love you and as much as I miss you, we're gonna make a change and you're gonna be with me and we're gonna do it together.
And all day long, I've seen his students stop by his picture hanging in the field right behind me and just stop and stare and think about him and how much they miss him. They just finished reading the names of the 17 victims taken from us a year ago. You know, a lot of the Parkland victims have spent the past year advocating for change, but they've also had to deal with a lot of trauma. First Coast News' Bethany Anderson is here in the amphitheater tonight and continues our live team coverage. Bethany, they have been through a lot over this past year.
They have been through a lot over the past year. I mean, you look everywhere and you see people hugging each other, loving each other. And Heather, we have interviewed so many of these teenagers over the past year.
Valentine's Day has a different meaning for students at Marjory Stoneman Douglas. For Connor King, it's the sinking moment he realized he lost his favorite teacher.
Mr. Beagle was my geography teacher. Miss him.
For Joseph Friss, it's the last time he saw some of his closest friends and a brotherly mentor he looked up to.
Regardless of whether it's someone who is like super inspirational to you or anything, losing someone in your life is losing someone in your life.
For Aaron Chen, it's living with the guilt that he couldn't save the one person he couldn't live without, his best friend and cousin, Peter Wang.
He was my brother. He was my rock.
Each are now trying to cope in their own way.
And I'm still angry now, but I saw a therapist and then she helped a lot.
I actually was able to have a face-to-face meeting with one of the brothers of a victim at Columbine.
Now, right now they are in the middle of prayer, so we are going to respect them and let them do what they need to do. Heather, we'll send it back to you.
Bethany, thank you. You know, out here tonight, we've seen a lot of therapy dogs. They were at school today to help the students. It's amazing the healing power animals can have. And Eric Alvarez continues our team coverage now with a look at how horses are helping this community.
I'm here at Watland 2 Stables, about 3.5 miles away from Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, where today, understandably, students, staff, teachers, and the community are processing their emotions in a number of different ways. That's why today the staff here is offering them a unique form of therapy.
They're such sweet animals.
There's something special about horses.
They're just so friendly and cuddly.
Somehow they know when we need love and support.
And they seem to know when you're having a rough day.
That's why the staff here opened the gates and flew an MSD flag, inviting anyone who needs a moment of peace.
But I can't put it into words how much this place means to me.
Elizabeth Mitchell says it's working.
I see their stress melting away, and they realize that they're not really part of Parkland for that 5 minutes, and I think that can do a lot of people good.
She's part of the team here at the stables, but she's also an MSD student.
It's been rough. There have definitely been good days and bad days.
On the good days, she takes care of the horses. On the bad days, they return the favor. She says what happened a year ago will never leave her, but hopefully neither will her love of horses or their love for her.
When it did happen, I was very much in shock, and I still don't want to believe it happened, but it's become a part of who I am, and I have to use what has happened to drive me forward, and I can't let that stop me.
One of the big takeaways here is grief and trauma and the problems that come with it that can last for years can affect people beyond those that were inside the school when the shots rang out. That's why therapists encourage anyone, no matter where you are, if you think you need help, seek it. In Parkland, Eric Alvarez, First Coast News, on your side.
And so as the sun starts to go down here in Parkland, right now behind me on the stage of the amphitheater, religious leaders from all different faiths coming here, thousands in this Parkland community joining together to lean on one another and to continue down the road of healing. Our live team coverage continues tonight on First Coast News at 7 and again at 11. Live tonight in Parkland, Heather Crawford, First Coast News, on your side.